What happens when you hit a wall and try as you might, you can't seem to muster the energy to keep doing the things you feel called to do? Do you keep pushing on? Do you stop and regroup? Do you quit? Well, this is basically what the last 4 months have looked like for me, and now I'm ready to share what has happened and how things are going to look a little bit different around here. Hey everybody, this is Dr. Mario Sacasa, and I have to say it's been a little bit since I've posted an episode. I feel like I need to start with an apology. In the 7 years that I've done this show, I've never fallen off the map like I just did. For those who listen to me regularly, I'm sorry that I didn't communicate clearly what was going on. I've taken a few breaks before with the podcast, when I moved to North Carolina, when I left Willwoods, but even then I shared why I was taking a break and had reposts to fill the gap during those weeks that I was taking time off. But this time around, I couldn't even muster that and just went radio silent, or should we say podcast silent, for a few months. In short, it was a really difficult and hard summer. And while I know that in this content-driven world, we're supposed to keep on creating and pushing new things out, the truth is I just couldn't. And I needed to take a step back. I needed to hit the reset button, and I needed to figure some things out. When I left Willwoods back in the summer of 2024, it took just an exorbitant amount of energy to learn everything I needed to learn to assume the full responsibility of producing this podcast. I had spent much of the year before just learning all the tools I needed and acquiring skills so that I can edit, market the show, so that I can design my website, utilize AI tools, write copy that is engaging and effective. For that year before I left, I poured so much into this building phase that by the time I actually started to publish on my own, I was absolutely exhausted. Absolutely exhausted. And just as I was getting to the starting line, I was already weary and worn out. And then I just jumped right into weekly editing while also balancing my counseling practice, family life, and my speaking schedule. It was a lot. It was a lot. And I wish I knew how to say it any other way. During that first year that I was producing the show, I literally traveled the country. I've given lectures here locally in Charlotte in small venues, but then I've also been to San Francisco, and I spoke in front of 2,000 folks at Seek in Salt Lake City. I kept pushing myself harder and harder and harder than I ever pushed myself before. Why? Because I just believed that this is what God was calling me to do. And I really, 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 really wanted this experiment to work out. And I can honestly say that over the course of this full year that I've been doing the show on my own now, because it has been a year, I started, my first YouTube episode was sometime fall of 2024. That as I've been doing all of this, I've given it everything that I possibly could. So the body, can only take so much. And the first time that my body started saying, hey, buddy, enough's enough, was actually the week before Seek. I haven't shared this yet, but the week before Seek, I got shingles. And I remember feeling the pain in the back of my head. And I just knew within that second day, the first day I started feeling it, I didn't really know what was going on. But the second day I was like, oh, I know this is shingles. I got on the phone immediately with the provider, and I was just scared and terrified that I wasn't going to get it under control, that I wouldn't be able to travel because I would still have this rash, or that even if I could travel, that maybe this red rash was all over my face and going into my eyeballs. And as I'm about to speak in front of 2,000 folks and the largest audience I've ever spoken in front of, that I would have this crazy rash. And I was just like, Lord, I don't want this. I don't want this. So yeah, even getting up on stage, the pain was still there. I was still in the middle of taking the medicine, and it was just awful. I don't know how else to say it. It was hard, but I took the medicine. I kept on going, and I kept pushing myself and pushing myself and pushing myself. At this point, we're beyond just plucky optimism. And I think I just embodied that parable of the widow who kept knocking on the corrupt judge's door, just knocking and knocking and knocking, hoping to get the answer by sheer persistence and determination. He will answer my prayer if I just keep trying. But even the best of us run out of energy, and I hit a wall after that last episode that I had released out in June. That was it. I just hit it. I hit it. Um, and that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. The wall this summer cut deeper than anything I have experienced before. It was the summation of years of disappointment and failure. I've talked on this show before about failures and how to respond to failures, and I don't speak about those things in the abstraction. I can tell you I've had numerous false starts across my life where I have given my best to God to try to pursue his dream, pursue a dream that he's put in my heart to do, to start a ministry, to work for a diocese, to work for seminaries. And I have had repeated failures or heartaches that have come across the way. And so this past summer, I thought, man, like if I can really get this podcasting going, even 7 years into it, if I could just keep pushing, keep pouring, keep going, keep doing, I would be able to somehow atone for everything that has come before and be able to make sense of it and have some reason to say why this was all been so difficult. But when it wasn't turning, or when my energy levels just hit the wall that they hit, it just cut. It cut. And that wall this summer, it just cut deeper than anything I've experienced before, which is why, honestly, I just couldn't even podcast. You know how they talk about like a black hole ripping the very fabric of space-time? I mean, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but that's honestly what I felt with my heart this summer. As I've said, I've poured everything into my faith in pursuit of what God has put on my heart to do, serving his people through the gifts he has given to me. And here I was struggling to make sense of why this venture wasn't working out. God, why aren't you providing? I'm giving you everything I can. At some point, I have to put this dream aside and grow up and be responsible and take care of my family. I thought, Lord, this is what you wanted. And I'm giving it all I got. So why aren't you upholding your end of the bargain? That's what I felt. I felt that like I was being cheated in some way, that I'm doing everything I can do, but somehow the God of the universe is not meeting me. He's not blessing this. He's not upholding his end of the bargain. So I just couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. And I just stopped. I stopped and I reassessed everything. And honestly, over the summer, I almost quit it altogether. I started exploring different career paths. I looked into executive coaching certificates, learning and development training. I looked into leadership training and other avenues that I thought would be adjacent to the work that I'm already doing as a counselor or speaker, but that could potentially be a little bit more lucrative. But even as I looked into all of those situations, all of those possibilities, rather, nothing really felt right. And even one fateful summer evening, I remember opening up my YouTube page and just about to hit the delete button and say, we're done. I'm done with this whole venture. And as I was about to hit the delete button, like something came over me and I couldn't do it. I started crying. Honestly, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is exactly what I want to do. I'm doing exactly what I feel like I'm called to do. I feel like I'm exercising and exercising the gifts that God has given to me to be able to build his kingdom up. And so like, I don't want to let go of this. Like, I don't want to delete this. What the heck am I doing? I don't want to let this thing go. And so I prayed and prayed and prayed. And I just kept saying, Lord, there has to be a way forward. There has to be a way forward. And I didn't get like the shebang answer that many of us think that we're supposed to get in these moments. But rather, I did receive just this quiet response, quiet encouragement from what I think is God. I don't know, maybe my own stubbornness, maybe my own inability to let go. I don't know. But what I did feel was just something interior saying, don't give up. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. And so I'm going, right? And Lord, if this succeeds, it will be just truly because you have blessed it. And so this summer, hearing that voice very loudly in the midst of the pain, being able to process some of those old failures, to do the work, to come to peace finally with the journey that God has given before me, coming to terms and acceptance of where I'm at in my life, I could finally also start to accept that I needed to humble myself. I needed to surrender. I needed to let this thing go just a little bit and acknowledge that God is blessing me in my life. And even if this venture is taking a while, that's okay, but let's keep pushing onward. Let's keep pursuing this. Um, and let's keep trying to figure out how I can do this a little bit differently so I'm not killing myself in the process. So we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to keep doing this. All right. But it is certainly time for a pivot. So what has Always Hope been about? For the 7 years that I've done this show, it's always been for folks like me who try to find their way forward in this world, even when things don't work out exactly the way that they have anticipated. I've always thought about the 30-something-year-old or the 20-something-year-old who gets to that point in life where you think like everything's going great, hunky-dory, life's great, all these things are happening, and then all of a sudden, bam, life smacks you in the face and reality hits you hard and you're like, what just happened? I didn't expect life to be as hard as it was. And then how do you respond to that? And some of us who are faithful can become bitter and angry in those moments. See, the title Always Hope, it was more of a promise that I made to myself back in 2018. I was one of those folks. I had a couple serious crises of faith and crisis in life in 2011 and again in 2017. And I was at a low point in my life and in my faith. And I made this declaration to always hope and to fight against cynicism no matter how hard things got. But I recognize that life is hard, that slap happens to all of us. And how do we respond? And that's what the show has always been about. I've been burned by the hidden prosperity gospel that is alive in Catholic and Christian circles today. And honestly, I'm just sick of it. This age-old notion that bad things only happen to those who go against God's plan, or good things and blessings rain upon the just and those who follow his plan. If the book of Job has taught us anything, it's that even the most righteous among us are not immune to the hardships and suffering of life. Brothers and sisters, the storms come whether your house is built on the rock or on the sand. That's what Jesus is teaching us. Throughout this show, I've been very honest with you about what faith looks like, what the spiritual life looks like. And let's be clear that when we appeal to quick fixes, Gnostic tendencies, false hopes, we only do more damage. I've tried in this podcast to create a space where we cannot run away from doubt. It's okay to say that life is hard, even for believers. That doesn't take away from the gospel message. To say that life is hard doesn't take away from Jesus' salvific plan. It doesn't reduce it in any form or fashion. It's okay. We don't have to pretend to have it all together in the name of upholding some image of the church or some image of what it means to be Christian. We have to be honest and say, it's time to course correct that. And so I'm not a bishop. I'm not a priest. I don't know how to communicate and make that big change happen. But what I can do is start with my own heart and recognize that I can be a little bit more vulnerable. I can open up to my audience. I can acknowledge, and I can create a space for all of us to be able to be in this together. We can create a space of vulnerability where we can be open and honest about the struggles and the challenges we're experiencing while still clinging to the gospel. So this show has been sort of, how did I say this, an anti-prosperity gospel. This is just, I'm trying not to BS anybody. This approach has touched every aspect of the show, including dating and marriage and hot button cultural issues like gender and sexuality. I think that's what has been the appeal for so many of you. Here in this podcast, you get a balance of truth anchored in hope, with just intermingled with my own lived experiences, my expertise as a therapist, and a little bit of my flair for human and Latino showmanship. I'm proud of what we have accomplished here in these 7 years. So I'm here to tell you that I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up, and I want to keep going. God in his providence met me in the middle of my mess this summer and brought me a number of blessings that I can clearly see now. Overall, I have been reminded that I am not alone on this venture. It isn't all up to me. That is a lie. And I just need to be faithful to what God has put before me. Poco a poco, one step in front of the other. And if we can keep doing it one step in front of the other, the Lord be the light unto my path. What does that mean? That means if you've ever gone hiking at night with just your headlamp, all you can see is where that light is pointed to. That is the life of faith. God, be a light unto my path. reveal to me enough of this in this moment and give me one step in front so that I can see where you are leading me. But once I settled these big existential questions and recognized that I wasn't alone and be able to process and come to peace and acceptance about where I am in life, I started to examine those little things, the details about the show. Armed with this new knowledge, I was able to assess what was working and what hasn't been working. I just had to be honest with myself and say, what are my real limitations of time? What's my real limitations of energy? What do I have within my control? And ultimately, how can I make this podcast a better experience for my audience? I have to be honest with myself about what I can and can't do. And for a type A personality driven, go, 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 go type of person, man, that is hard. And that is really hard to be able to come to some acceptance about what I can and can't do. So here's a list of where I've landed and what I'm beginning to explore. And as I share this, I'm asking for your feedback. I'm going against that voice that says I have to have it all together. I got to have it all put together before I start sharing it. I'm learning that's not the way this works. Okay. What I need is your feedback, my dear listener, because I don't have this all figured out. So please, as I share some of these ideas, I need you to respond and let me know what you think. So first thing, all right, what you're going to see here is going to be a little different. First thing you're going to recognize is that we're going to have shorter intros, if any. I always thought that the best way to set up a podcast episode was to have a gradual intro in a conversation that eventually bloomed into something profound, like reading a good book. But the truth is that's just not the way that people consume content online. And what I've learned is that I have 30 seconds to convince the casual viewer that this show is worth their time. And if not, they're going to click away. I thought I had like 3 minutes, but that's just, wow. Okay. So I learned something. All right. So we're going to get into the meat of the show a little bit faster than we have been. We're going to be a little punchier here. We got to get going. All right. So we're going to be jumping into things just a little bit quicker. Catchy theme music will still be making some appearances, but we need to move faster. We need to get the ball rolling. We need to get into the meat of the content, because I am competing for attention. And while I don't want to create clickbaity stuff, I do want to be a better storyteller. And I think that if I can become a better storyteller, that I'm going to be a better podcaster. So I'm going to continue to do the show. And I want to, as I'm doing this, I'm making a few promises to you. I'm stating this so that I can be crystal clear about what this show is about and that you can hold me accountable to these promises. I promise not to BS or sugarcoat life, the spiritual life, faith. Here, I'm speaking to folks like me who have tried to live the Christian life well and are still struggling to make sense of why things haven't turned out the way that they've wanted. Folks who have been humbled by the hardships of life. Whether you are active in your faith, a casual observer, or not quite sure how to make sense of the unexplainable mystery of God, you have a place here in this podcast. We are all in this together. And we're just trying to figure out how to put one foot in front of the other and keep going. In the show, I will continue to give you solid and actionable advice regarding dating, relationships, and marriage. Listen, I know I've been a marriage therapist for 20 years. I've been married for 23 years. Relationships are hard, but there are some really great tools available. I'm going to offer those tools to you. I'm going to help you navigate the discernments. I'm going to help you build better habits within your relationships so that you can achieve what is probably the greatest gift that God can give us this side of heaven, which is love and being able to live in the context of a loving relationship. I promise to continue giving you knowledge anchored in truth. All that I care about with this show is providing solutions to a better life. That's my tagline, and that's what I'm doing with the show. Now, sometimes those solutions come from faith resources. I think the church has a lot to say, a lot of wisdom to offer about how to live a good life. But sometimes the solutions are better explained through the scientific literature. Why? Well, because the actionable items often are coming from the science. Properly understood, faith and science don't have to be opposed to one another. They can be in harmony. And I want this show to continue to be a place where you can see that and experience that in the realm of psychological literature and counseling science. But where I think, okay, so all those themes aside, but where I think I have failed the most over this past year is not properly taking care of you, my listener. In some ways, honestly, I didn't know how to do that. But this past summer, what I'm learning is how to be more available to you and how to be a better communicator to you, how to be in better conversation with you, I should say. This begins, for me at least, by introducing a weekly newsletter where I will share further thoughts about episodes and other things that come to mind. I have many interests and honestly just need another point of contact to be able to share them with you. I thought social media was the best way to be able to continue this relationship and have these conversations. If you listen to the show, you'll hear me say often, join the conversation on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram. And I've always meant that. But what I've realized is that social media is just fundamentally a shallow means of communication. It's not the best way to be able to dialogue with you, my dear listener. So what I'm going to be doing is emailing you directly. And I think that emailing is a much cleaner way, a much deeper way of being able to communicate. So even if it doesn't reach a large number, I'm okay with that. I don't care. I'd rather us be a smaller group that we're in communication and in communion with one another. I want to build relationships and I want to build community here around Always Hope Podcast and the themes that we're discussing. So if you're not on my email list, then please head on over to Dr. Mario Sacasa and join. I still am thinking through in terms of the name, what it's going to look like, frequency. It will be weekly at minimum, but I promise you, I'm not going to be spamming you, but it will be a tool primarily used for improving communication about the podcast, about ways that you can grow in deeper relationships, the way ideas for dating, ideas for marriage, ideas for hope. If I come across resources that are it's just easier to share these things that may not necessarily require a full podcast episode, but if I can do it through the email, then I can show you the things that I'm learning and keep you abreast of what I'm up to. All right. So please, again, head on over to drmariosacasa.com, sign up for the email list. You're going to love it. And I promise that we're going to have a great time and learn how to be able to dialogue with one another. And finally, I'm planning to start a paid community for fellow fans of the show. I believe there is a group of us out there that really want to rally around these ideas that I've built this brand around. And so I don't have all the details of the paid community figured out, okay? But I have some notion of what I'm looking for, and I think what I want to accomplish and how it can provide real value for you in your life, all right? But I am needing your help. In the show notes, what you will see is a survey link to be able to guide the construction of this community. I need your feedback because I don't want to build something that nobody here wants. You have the opportunity right now at the ground level to help me shape what this community is going to look like. Please, 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 I'm saying it again, I need your help. So you'll find that link in the show notes. I'll have it on my website. I'll have it on my socials. I'll have it in an email also. I'll have many opportunities for you to be able to see where that link is. And I need your help. Please, I want to create this paid community. I want to create a space online where we continue to grow deeper in our faith and grow deeper in our knowledge of what it means to live a good life anchored in hope. So this paid community is going to be an amazing opportunity for us to grow. But again, I need your help. Please, 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 please complete the survey because I need that feedback. But I do have some preliminary ideas of what this community is going to look like. All right. So first, we're going to have monthly members only Q&A. With me, we're going to meet on a Zoom or some other platform. We're going to have nice chats, be able to do AMAs, anything you want to talk about, whether it's pertaining to episodes or other ideas or news or movies or whatever it is. We're going to have a wonderful time having those conversations. And sometimes I think I'm going to invite friends of mine, previous guests onto the show, that we can have these dialogues and have these conversations directly with you, the listener. The community will also have discussion groups for episodes or the themes of these episodes. Also be able to offer reflections for prayer, a book and movie clubs. We can do that. We can read Walter Chizik together. We can read Viktor Frankl together. We can read great resources related to hope. We can watch movies. Maybe we can't watch them together, but we can set a time to kind of virtually watch it together and talk about it. Like, these are the things that we can do. I also, on the paid community, will give you access to my recorded lectures, deeper dives on dating and marriage, Always hope. Maybe this is a crazy idea. I have a lot of singles who listen to the show. How about we do an always hope virtual singles mixer? I think that would be a lot of fun. You guys all can connect around the podcast. I think that's a great way to meet people. The paid community will also be a place for me to be able to share early drafts of chapters for the books that I want to write. I have lots of ideas for what I want to accomplish, and I want the paid community to be a place where I can dialogue with listeners and get real and vivo feedback that you can help me to be able to craft these ideas so that they can be as effective as possible. Really, what I'm trying to say is this. I don't want Always Hope to be a one-way conversation anymore. I don't. I love doing this podcast and I love the feedback that I get from my listeners, but I don't want to just look at vanity numbers about how many people download or any of that stuff. That's not what I'm here for. I am here because I want to be able to serve you the best way that I possibly can. And I believe that the paid community will be a great way to keep these conversations alive in between episodes. And what I also hope out of this paid community, and to be just completely transparent, my long-term goal, if I can lay out a 5-year plan, my 5-year plan, my long-term goal would be to phase out counseling altogether and go full tilt into the podcast. As I've stated many times, I feel like this is what the Lord has put on my heart to do. I absolutely love doing the show. I want to be able to just keep creating more content to help you grow in your faith, to grow in your relationships, to continue just to take those steps that you need to take in your life. But for me to be able to do that, I need support. I need support. And if this paid community grows, then I can give more time and attention to the podcast if I continue to get more support from you, my listeners. So please prayerfully consider whether or not you want to join us. If the show has meant anything to you, then please consider being a supporter of the show and help me make this happen, because I want to be able to do this, but I just need help, and this is where I'm at. All right. So moving forward, the only thing that matters, as I've said, is sincerely, is just taking care of you. That's it. This is what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you grow. I'm here to help you navigate the hardships of life. I'm here to help you find hope, regardless of where you're at, what circumstance you're in, or however suffering has found you. I'm trying to figure out how to continue to create a shared experience through this podcast. And I don't have it all figured out yet, okay? But I know that this is part of the creative process. I know that at some point, you just have to get out of your head and you got to say, all right, I'm doing it. I'm announcing this idea to the world, and recognizing that it's just being out there, that's how this thing is going to develop. So I'm going against that voice that says, I can do it on my own. I can do it on my own. I can do my own. Don't share anything. Let it be perfect. Don't do anything until it's done. Don't share anything until it's done, excuse me. But I'm choosing vulnerability and I'm soliciting your help. So here I am, folks. All right. It's been a great summer. I can say that now. It's been a mystery of an experience. It's been a lot of hardships, a lot of tears, a lot of wrestling with God, a lot of wrestling with myself and wrestling with my past. But I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. And I'm excited about where this show is going to go. And I'm excited to have you join me on this new venture. I'm excited about where this is going to lead us and how we're going to be able to grow closer in relationship, how we're going to be able to form a community around these ideas, and how we're going to be able to ultimately just grow closer to the Lord through this whole process. So join me, please. Again, fill out the survey, sign up for the email list. Keep listening to the show. Keep listening to the show. Keep sharing it with your friends. Keep sharing with your family members. Keep talking about it with folks who need it. And we're going to get back at this. All right, people, we're going to get back at this. And so thank you guys for your patience with me. Thank you for just listening to this episode it's been 4 months since I've dropped an episode, and that's a long time. And so I'm grateful that you're listening again. And I hope that I can re-earn your trust to be able to continue to do this and to continue to serve you, this great community that I have of listeners. I think you guys are awesome. I'm so blessed to have you. I'm amazed that you guys find the show and that I know it's been so helpful for you. And so it's just my honor to continue to serve you through this podcast. and let's make this happen. Okay. So many blessings to all of you. Thank you guys so much for your time and attention. Know that I'm praying for you. God bless you. Yeah, that's it, everybody. All right. Take care. Bye.